Hello, welcome back to another episode of Empath Sisters. I'm Shelly.
Hi, I'm Bev.
And last episode, we talked about us going to be live, like in
hmm
person,
hmm
and that people could come and meet us and get us like to know us and talk anything that they like or questions. And we thought that today we would talk about that in person event that we had
Yeah,
and answer some questions that weren't answered and some that were, so that you can kind of have an idea what happened that day. And we had such a great day, and it was awesome to meet the people that did get to come and meet us. And
yes.
yeah,
It was
so
so fun.
yeah, it was. Yeah, it really was. It was very, um, I would have to say, very heartwarming and very intimate. It was great. It was really nice to just to get to be with people.
I know. That's something I feel like we haven't done in a long time. So
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
so nice to have people here in person and
hmm
just, I love that connection and that energy exchange when people are around. So it was so nice to have people come in and hang out with us and ask us questions. And I don't know, I think they just really got an eye opener to what it's like to hang out with you and I.
Yeah, that too.
So
And
that
just, and I think a lot
was
too,
fun.
like a little bit more of our personalities more, right? Like in
Yeah.
how we are, right? I mean, we can do that
Yeah.
here, but I think just in person it's a little bit more different, right? Where we're just more
Yeah.
relaxed in ourselves, right? So
Totally. And do know that doing these recordings, Shelly and I are as real as possible. This is
yeah.
pretty much what we are like. That was
hmm
our whole goal, was to just be our authentic selves and just
hmm
wing it and go with it, however it goes. So there's no like planning and scripts or anything like that. So as
However, we did try to do a script and it just did not work anyway. So we were like, screw it. Let's just do
it was a
whatever we want to do.
nightmare. I was like, Shelly, okay, it's not meant to be this hard. Like, I can't do this if it's gonna be this hard. So
Yeah.
let's just be ourselves. So this
hmm
is so non-scripted every time.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So, yeah. So again, like I said, it was really nice to um, have some people around
Yeah,
and
it
in
was so
person.
good.
So yeah, it was
I'd love
great.
to do more of those in-person engagements. I think would be awesome. I know that was part of, I think, one of the questions um, that we had was if we
Yeah.
were going to be doing some more uh, I don't know, in-person stuff or get-togethers in other locations.
hmm
So
And
I
maybe.
would like to. I think we should. We'll just start planning now that things are starting to open up and there's some movement. So, but we'll
Yeah.
definitely keep you all posted and on that anyway. So,
Right.
so
Yeah.
we have some questions here that we got from some of our followers, and some questions we hadn't answered yet that came through, and then we have some questions that were also brought up when we were live, like in person. So we thought we would share some of those with you today.
Yeah.
So one of the first questions that was asked in person was, what made you decide to come together to create your podcast? And is there any plans of a new business together? So, which,
Well,
when we got that question, we were like, hey, yeah, we didn't even share with anybody how we came to be, how the Empath Sisters started. And so, great question. Thank you so much for that question. And we thought, yeah, we're going to share that one for sure. So, let's
yeah.
start with that one.
Yeah, let's start with that one. Personally, myself, I have been interested in doing a podcast myself. And I actually had bought in like the equipment, everything. I had it all ready to go. And I didn't do it for almost a year. And like things were popping up in my life personally, but at the same time I really really wanted to do a podcast because I felt like I needed to share that way and just talk, because I love to talk and I know my sister loves to talk too.
Mhm.
But I was researching how to do podcasting, and I was talking to another podcaster, and this thought just popped in my head, and it was like they were saying that I needed to, you know, yes, do the podcast, but possibly have like a host, like another host, share it with someone. And that podcaster that I was talking to, I knew it wasn't going to be her, but I had mentioned it, and she's like, "Oh well, yeah, that could be, you know, something that you could look into." And I just didn't know where to start. Honestly, I didn't even know who I wanted to share the podcast with me. And so I
Mhm.
kind of just left it alone, and still did some more researching, like about like how to do the technology stuff. And I
Yeah.
was a little bit overwhelmed, so I was like,
Mm.
I was like, I don't know if I can do this. So I just kind of, yeah, like left it alone. And then one day, I was talking to Bev,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna let her take over because that's basically where it starts. And
Yeah.
yeah, so go
It did.
ahead.
I actually, the person that asked this question, I was working with her the day that I got the information, and I was working with this gal, and I was standing there, and then all of a sudden I heard this: "You need to podcast with your sister, and you're going to be called blah 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 blah." And I literally stood there going like, "What the heck?" And to be honest, I have never considered podcasting or doing anything like this at all. It's not, I don't know, it's just not my thing. I'm not good with technology at all. And so I was just, but when I heard that, it was like, yeah, okay. I actually felt like I wanted to do it. So it was so bizarre. So I then got a hold of my sister and I sent her a text and I said, "Hey, we need to chat." So we did. So we ended up talking and I just said, "Hey, this is what happened to me. This is what I heard." And so I shared that with her and she was like, "Oh my God, Bev." And then she told me her story and I was like, "What? You've been wanting to podcast for so long? You're set up? What?" I had no idea, as close as we are and we talk all the time. I had no idea. So it wasn't even like in my awareness. And so then, yeah, Shelly decided, like, yeah, I think she had to think about it. Like, do I want to work with you? And,
Well, it
so,
wasn't really that I had to
like,
think about it. It was more just like, okay, like,
oh,
how are we going to do this? And like,
yeah,
what are we going to do? Or how are we, like, it was just all those things that were running in my mind, right?
totally.
And then I did what Bev said. Like, I had to really like think about it. And
Yeah.
I did. And I don't know what happened, but it was like, I don't know if it was like a day or two later, and I went to bed, and I went to bed, but I didn't go to sleep. It was like
Mhm.
they were downloading everything to me and saying like, this is what that, and like even names of our what we're going to be called. Even though she gave
Mhm.
me a name, it just didn't resonate with me for some reason. I'm not sure, but yeah, then I started getting all this stuff. So then I started, you know, writing it all down in
Writing
my
it down.
notes in my phone. And I was like, how do you feel about this? And like, we just conversed, and
Yeah.
I think I even still have it on my phone, of how many podcast names that we had. And we narrowed it,
Hmm.
like we talked to each other and we narrowed it down to
Yeah.
two that we liked. And
Yeah.
yeah, and then we,
And then we were like, okay, you tell me which one you want. You tell me. We didn't want to. So I said, okay, how about we do this? I think you write it down, like you write them both down on a piece of paper and I'll do the same. Fold it up, put it in a little cup or whatever, and then just shake it, pick one out, and we'll just say whatever one we got. And we'll see
yeah,
if we can match.
yeah,
And we did.
yeah. And we picked the same one, and it was
Yeah.
meant to be, even though like,
But I even felt I wanted that with
yes, me
anyway.
too. Yeah.
I would have felt bad to say one and you wanted the other. So that's why I thought,
Right.
well, let's just
And I think that's why we
pull it.
didn't say anything. It was because we were like, we didn't want to,
I know.
But even though we
Then,
had the same one, so it worked
yeah,
out. So that's how the
yeah,
Empath Sisters
yeah.
was born.
Began with born. Yes,
Yeah.
we
So,
loved the name, and then yeah, we definitely tried to figure out how to podcast. I think at the beginning
oh,
it was a lot of work, and it was difficult and frustrating and overwhelming and all those feels. And like Shelly was saying earlier about, I don't think it's meant to be this, like, it just wasn't meant to be that hard. It just
Yeah.
seemed so hard at the beginning for some reason.
Mhm.
So then I just said, I think we should just YouTube. Let's just YouTube. Just like we can just wing it and just be ourselves, and it just can be so much easier. And it was,
Yeah.
um, even though we have some really awesome bloopers that we're going to try to figure out how to share them with you all. But then once we're doing our YouTubing together, it records it when we're finished. So even just without a video. And so Shelly was like, I can still put them on podcasting. So
Yeah.
it just worked out. It was like, they were like, no, you need to go this way because you'll figure out an easier way to make this happen. So
Yeah.
it was amazing. I
Yes.
love it. So I'm so happy how it all kind of worked out.
Yes, I am too,
So yeah.
because honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it was a little frustrating for me just because, like, I know that Bev sometimes isn't tech savvy. So, and
Mhm.
I was the one that was trying to figure out how to do this. You named it. I was on freaking YouTube and like everything. I was researching so much. It was just like my brain was like on fire because it was just like, I can't take this anymore. And so when
Yeah.
she did say YouTube and all that, and then it like legit was in front of me, it was downloading, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I can do this. It just hit me. So then I
Yeah.
was like, we have to be on podcast too. So then,
Yeah.
yeah, so then we're on podcasts too, so that you can listen to us as well.
Yeah.
And because I know I love to listen to podcasts as well.
Yes.
And not everybody likes YouTube. So it worked
Totally.
out. So it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
was.
it's so great that we started YouTubing because I really felt it was important that people got to know who we were and what we look like. Because so many times I've had people say to me, when you guys laugh, I don't even know who's laughing. Or when somebody says this, I don't even know who said it. So, because we sound so alike as well. So, I just thought it'd be great to kind of get a little bit of our personalities out there,
Yeah.
put a face to the name, and then so there is that option too. But
Yeah,
yes, we are
for
on
sure.
podcasting platforms and YouTube as well. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how the
So
Empath sisters began. And
that's
here we
right.
are.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so that is for that
That was a great
question.
question.
So
Yeah, that
what's
was a great
the
question.
Yes, it was very much. Yes.
So the next question that we got was, are there any books or resource recommendations? So that question came in as well. So I know we had kind of just went ahead and just pulled a few
Hmm.
titles, I guess, to
Yeah.
recommend. Did
Hmm.
you have any that you wanted to share?
Well, the
Sure.
only
Or
one that
should
I
me
can
share these
think of
ones?
and that keeps coming up is The Power of Now, and that's by Eckhart Tolle.
Totally.
It's an excellent book, so I would definitely read something like that, just because it is something that will give you an idea of how it is, even just with not just connection, but just like with
Mhm.
empowerment and even I think there's even a little bit, I can't remember it, I read it so long ago,
Mhm.
but it was like about empowerment and I think manifestation and how to just be. So, like I said, I just know that it is a
Nice.
very good book to read. So that would be definitely something that I would recommend. I know
Okay.
Bev has a couple that she can recommend. So,
Yeah, for sure. I just wrote them on some sticky notes over here. So, the first one, and I know this was even when Shelly was here in person, she got to attend one of my support circles.
yeah.
And I know even one of the attendees had mentioned this book as well. She loved it. Um, but it is called The Untethered Soul,
Hmm.
The Journey Beyond Yourself, and by Michael Allen Singer. So, The Untethered Soul by Michael Allen Singer. I have that book. I own it as well. It's a really good book. So, I would recommend that one as well. And then the other one that I also recommend is called Spiritual Growth. It's a great, I want to say beginner. I don't like to
Label
scale
it.
things, but
Yeah.
it's a great starting place or something, just like the foundation, some really good stuff to kind of, I don't know, learn about spiritual gifts and understanding, and maybe there's some connections, some aha moments for yourself. So this book is called Spiritual Growth, Being Your Higher Self by Sanya Roman. So it's Sanaya Roman. So spiritual growth. And then she has another book as well, which is called Personal Power Through Awareness. That's another great book. So those are just a couple that I wanted to recommend just to put out there. Another recommendation, of course, I know that Shelly and I had spoke about in person as well, was just, you know, finding your community, finding your like-minded people, and finding some spiritual classes, you know, whether it's on reading cards or, you know, I don't know. There's so many out there, honestly.
Yeah.
So there's lots of mediumship classes, spiritual classes, that stuff. Looking for a spiritual mentor to help you as well on your journey. Shelly has also taken some mediumship classes and some spiritual development as well. And that's kind of, I know you were saying that's, you know, like you were happy to find that community.
Absolutely. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And like I even said, like, remember that um, if it doesn't feel right to you, then it means it doesn't resonate with you. So just
Mm-hmm.
keep looking, because you will find it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're willing to look, and find who does resonate with you, or who
Sure.
you connect with, or find your community, that type of thing. So yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, like Bev said, I recommend looking for mediumship classes, or even just spiritual classes, or finding a mentor, somebody who's teaching it.
Yeah.
There's many people that do. So
Yeah.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I personally teach some
Mm-hmm.
development classes as well, beginner, more introduction, and then I do an intermediate as well. Um, and I know it's been awesome, just, you know,
Yeah.
guiding people and giving them information and supporting them and trying to, you know, allowing them to discover their gifts and to also be around other like-minded people and to feel like they're in a
Yes.
safe space to do so
Mm-hmm.
and to be themselves. So, um, something like that would be, I think, also recommended as well
For
to
sure.
help you along. And that's part of the journey. And you're right, you know,
Mm-hmm.
finding those people or the information that resonates with you, you know, that speaks to you. It's like somewhere inside when it speaks to you, it's almost like you can't even explain how it speaks to you. It just does.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. It just to go with that. And if you are able to keep looking for it, that is part of the journey, is
Mm-hmm.
finding it, seeking it. And
Yeah.
then you kind of start pulling all the pieces together of like finding your community or like-minded people, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the learning, the book reading, you know, finding people on YouTube or podcasts and that sort of
Yes.
thing. So it's like pulling all the information and just finding what resonates with you. And that's kind of how you learn and move forward on your journey. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
what I would recommend
For
for that
sure.
question. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Let's
Okay.
move on
What's
to
the
the
next
next
one?
question. So the next question I have here is, do either of your kids have similar gifts as you? And if so, would you want them to follow in your footsteps and work alongside you?
uh,
Would you like to start?
sure. I can
Okay.
start.
Okay.
Okay, so I have 3 children, and I also have 3 grandchildren. So um, all of my kids are definitely gifted. And it's not just my children, it's my husband as well. So they're kind of got it from him too. So I don't want to say got it, but like it's just like a hereditary thing. We're just, like we even said in person, we're very open. We've never had a point of in our lives, even to our kids, that we kept
Mhm.
it from them. We've always been open
Yeah.
about being spiritual, and how we connect, and spirit. So if I wanted to say about my kids, I would have to say like 2 out of the 3 are definitely more open. My middle one, she is not. She knows she has gifts, but she just doesn't want to dabble into that at all. Like, she legit will say to me, "Mom, tell your people to leave my house," or whatever, right? And I'll say, "They're not my people; they're your people, and you can tell them to go." And she knows what to do, but she just
Yeah.
is not open, and she just doesn't want to go into it, dabble into that. And that's
Yeah.
fine, because I remember myself being like that too, and
Of
even with my
course.
oldest daughter. But she's more like my oldest, she really likes like little spells here and there. Like she's a little bit more witchy, I would call her. But she also loves spiritual stuff too. And then there's my son who is very open, and he gets like premonitions and things like that, like my husband does. So
Yeah.
I always tell my children, I support them in whatever way they want to go down, whatever path they want to go. So it really doesn't matter. If they choose to, great. I will definitely support them. If they don't, that's fine too. I do know that they do ask questions. So I will
Mhm.
always be there to help and answer those questions. And if I don't have those questions, I recommend somebody else, or like contact Bev, or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. And then like my grandchildren, they're definitely at a higher realm than me, but they're very gifted as well. Like I my oldest granddaughter, she has been very gifted since she was born. She's been able to just tell it like it is, and it's the truth. Like I can give you an example. Like she went up to a lady who was my daughter's friend, who didn't know at the time. Like my granddaughter went up to her and said, "You're having a baby," and she's like, "Oh, really?" Like she was just like laughing it off. And then 2 months later, she found out she was expecting, and
Mhm.
she even said like, "You're having a girl," and she did end up having a girl. So she's just very intuitive. So,
Yep.
and then my grandson, even though he's only 4 months old, oh, you can just see in him that he is definitely an old soul. He's been here many times. He reminds me so much of my son, so they're similar. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I would have to
Mhm.
say that it doesn't really matter which way that they go. So
Yeah.
yeah, how about you, Beth?
Yeah, I also have three kids, and all my kids are gifted as well. And I think, in their own way, just like everybody else is gifted in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I also truly believe in everybody discovering this and going on this spiritual journey at their time.
Right.
We are definitely open, like Shelly said. I'm also very open with my kids, and in our household, it's just a normal thing. We've always talked about it, this spirit or this dream or this premonition or feeling or this experience happened to me. And so that's been normal in our house. And
Good.
I know Shelly's family has a family group chat through text, which I also have one with my kids and my husband as well. And we're constantly, the kids are even posting, "Oh my gosh, I got a sign today," and they'll take a picture of their dime that they got, or, "Oh, I was on the way to the mall with my friend and I just was talking about this and I got these numbers, mom." And so, it's just normal, we all talk about it. And but they don't really use their gifts in their life in a way that I do, in a working way. That's for sure. And but they are definitely open. I think it gives them, they just have more awareness and more in tune to things that are happening, or maybe themselves, which is great, I think. So, but if they ever chose to follow in my footsteps, well, cool. I mean, sure, if that's what they want and that's part of their journey, of course I'd support them and try to also mentor them as much as possible. But it's never, of course, forced upon. I want my kids to discover their own journey and figure out what they want to do in life. And I've done my job of guiding them and doing the best that I can. And they got to figure it out. They're all on their own journey too. So
Exactly.
we'll see what
Mm-hmm.
happens. But yeah, so that was
Oh,
my answer
nice.
for my kids anyway.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on, we have another question that came through, and this was not in person, so this one was posted by one of our followers. And one of her question was, "How do you respond to people who say they don't believe?" So, yeah, that one is, you know, pretty loaded question, is how I feel. But so I think so many people wonder that, and I think are afraid, especially maybe at the beginning of a journey or anything like that, exploring, this spiritual journey, and it's like, how do you, it's like really gravitating through uncharted water. You don't know what to say, what to do, where do you go? Do you have friends that talk about it? Maybe they don't. Maybe there's religious backgrounds,
Mhm.
you don't really know. And so it can be a little bit scary um, to bring it up or talk about it. But, how do you respond to people who say they don't believe? I know for myself, from my own experience, I used to have two jobs and this job that I have for my business. And I used to leave my business to the end to tell people what I did. I always told them what jobs I had first and then kind of just trailed off. Oh, I do Reiki and I do readings. And they're like, oh, what is that? What do you do? And I'm like, oh. And I, I did worry about what people thought about me because, of course, there's some stigmas out there as well with psychics and mediums and that sort of thing. And I also, for my kids, felt bad for them. If people had asked, I didn't want them to also kind of like fall under that association because their mom is like this. And, but, I just kind of persevered. And as I moved forward on my journey, I just felt like I got stronger. And I also realized that these gifts that I have, I can't get rid of them. It is who I am, and I don't care anymore. I just got to that point where I didn't care. I was like, this is my life, and I'm so consumed in worrying about what other people think about what I'm doing in my life. For what? You can't please everybody. What does it matter anyway? So I feel like everybody gets to do what they want. Or maybe they do worry about stuff like that, but I couldn't live in that vibration anymore, that energy of worrying and stressing over what people thought of me. And I do know what's out there and sometimes of what people believe and think about people like us, or, if we're gifted or whatever. And I just thought, I'm not doing anything bad with the gifts that I have. I only use them for good things and to help people. And so I just think there's no harm in that. So, and I've also learned that everybody else is on their journey. So if they're just not where I'm at vibrationally and they can't understand what I do and don't want to know what I do, that's okay too. It doesn't bother me anymore. I truly stand in who I am and what I do, and I love it. I'm grateful for it, and I would never change it. But I know that's definitely been a part of my journey. And I know I think about like 3 years ago, I literally just started putting on my business cards that I was a psychic medium, because I was just like, I don't care anymore. Doesn't matter. So I just know they're not where I'm at, and that's okay. And maybe someday they'll get there, and maybe someday they won't, and that's okay too. Everybody's on their own path. So
Mhm. Yeah, for
I,
sure.
that's my experience. I don't know. You got to do what feels right to you.
Mhm.
But that's that's off of mine anyway. How about for you, Shell?
Well, for me, I was like you. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely was. I never talked about it to anybody
Yeah.
because I didn't want them to know um, that I could do
Mm-hmm.
the things that we do. And I think for me, it was like a process for me. So
Mm-hmm.
each time that I learned something new or did something new, I would bring that out slowly. Like, okay, I do this, and or I do this,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like I'm in the place too where I don't care anymore because um and I shouldn't say that I don't care anymore. I do. I think I respect myself more to say like I do these things now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's hard to explain for myself because it had been so long for me that,
Yeah.
I just kept it to myself for so, like my whole life, basically.
Yeah.
And, so when people did find out, they would kind of be either two ways, like one of two ways, shocked and been like, oh my gosh, really? And like excited and then ask me questions. And then I would get all like, oh my God, I'm scared, right?
Yeah.
Or the other way would be like, okay, like
All right.
yeah. And I was the same as Bev. Like I worked many jobs and I did many different things
Mm-hmm.
and when it came to finally doing my own business as well, it was the same kind of thing. It was like, what do you do? And I'd be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, I own my own business. And then they would be like, oh, what
What's
kind of
that?
business? Yeah. And I would say, I'm a spiritual healer. And I would say it like that. And they'd be like, what? And I'd be
Yep.
like, well, it's like Reiki. Have you ever heard of Reiki? And then some people wouldn't, or some people would, and they would just be like, oh, and then they would just stop talking to me about it.
Yep.
But I got used to it. So now it's just like, whatever, that's what I do. So
Yeah.
take it or leave
Right.
it. So,
Yeah.
and I just, yeah. So it's kind of like that too for me, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's, it's been a journey. But for me, it just has literally just started. I've only had
Mm-hmm.
my business for a couple of years, so it's been a process for sure. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So
I
yeah,
think for myself, growing up, I always talked about it.
yeah. We talked
I,
about it together, but we didn't
yeah, I
like.
talked about it with outside people because
Yeah.
for me, I don't know why, or maybe it's a blessing, I'm not sure, but for me growing up, talking about it with my friends and my experiences and that sort of thing, to me, I felt like everybody else was like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, I think I was just, I don't know, I just didn't think anything different. I thought we were all the same. And I just talked about it like it was normal. Like, don't you experience that? And as I got older, that's when I started to realize, oh no, not everybody experiences this and not everybody is like that. Or even when I talk to people about how I travel at night, they're just like, I definitely don't do that, and I was like,
Yeah.
really? What? And I thought everybody does that. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but I think, just for me, I really didn't worry about it until I had my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just worrying for my kids, what other people will think about my children. So that's where I think a little bit of the hesitation was for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just, also got to that place where it was like, take
Yeah.
it or leave it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And I think everybody experiences. I have lots of students that have been on that journey where they haven't talked to anybody about it, or, start to share and they're scared, and,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden they find out this person's like, really? Oh my gosh. It's
Yeah.
almost like people are waiting for someone to make the first move to
Mm-hmm.
talk about it.
Yeah.
And I always encourage my students in my classes, like, just honestly, like, it's almost like sparking that light in somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
If you're brave enough, just be the first person to say it, because you will be surprised how people just start talking about it. And then all of
Right.
a sudden you're just like, oh my gosh. And it just becomes a thing. And some will like, no, that's cool. Like, do your own thing. And that's okay too. And some
Mm-hmm.
will be like, oh, let's take this journey together. And then you kind of get more of that like-minded friendship happening where you can start to talk about these things and be open about it. So,
Yeah.
and then it just continuously grows. And I think you just get stronger and more confident in the acceptance, and just like, yeah, this is me. And vibrationally, it feels good
Mm-hmm.
to be in that place and to feel that feeling. So, I think it's just be kind to yourself, take it one day at a time, and just take the journey if you
Yeah.
want, I guess.
Yeah.
But I know we're supporting you, so
Yeah. For sure. For
go
sure.
for it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that would be, I don't know. That's how I would answer that
Mm-hmm.
question.
Yeah. For sure.
So
Yeah. And like you said, like I did not share that with people.
yeah,
Um, my whole life because I was afraid of what they were going to, to say or think, or maybe not be my friend or
right.
whatever, right? So I didn't have that, but we did talk about it like as a family unit all the time. So I
Yeah.
at least felt comfortable, and I think that's part of the reason why we're so close today is that we just always
Hmm.
have been a very tight knit family due to that as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I agree with you. Just it is to, and you know what? Actually, I feel that right now as a collective,
Hmm.
um, we're just more open. I feel like more
Yeah.
people are more aware, and it's more talked about. People talk about it more spiritually, things like that.
Yeah.
So I think more people are or more comfortable coming out and saying, "Yeah, I do this," or "I yeah, I," and
Yeah.
it's just more can I say accepted maybe? I don't
Yeah.
know. It just feels different than it was when I was growing up.
Yeah.
It was like, to me, it was like taboo. It was
Yeah.
almost, even just in a religious way,
Hmm.
it was a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
So now it's just so much different, I find. So, yeah. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I have to say something too, and I don't know if we'll ever talk about it on an episode or not, but just to throw this little tidbit in here. But growing up Jehovah Witness,
Mm-hmm.
and when I was in grade 8, I did get baptized Roman Catholic because I did want to belong. We weren't Jehovah Witness anymore, and I wanted to belong with the rest of my family. So became Roman Catholic and did go to mass, every week and stuff like that. But I can honestly tell you that I do believe in something. I believe in something higher,
Yeah.
and that there is something greater out there, whether, whatever your beliefs are, the creator, God, divine, source,
Yeah.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you honestly though, how connected and disconnected I felt in both of those religions, that I honestly, on this spiritual journey that I've taken, I feel more connected to something greater or bigger, or to source, or to God, or however, angels, however you want to look at it. I feel way more connected and in alignment with that, as opposed to just going to a church for me every
Mm-hmm.
week, because I can communicate and have that relationship, anytime that I want, if it's everywhere, and
Right.
I don't know, this journey made me feel way more connected than I ever did in either religion.
Yeah.
And so that also is a little bit, for me anyway,
Yeah, I agree.
subject, a little bit of the religious
Yes.
background there. And even our family
Mm-hmm.
is Roman Catholic,
Yeah.
but we're also pretty open. We've been
Yeah.
like that. It runs in
Mm-hmm.
our family, and so it's like we're religious, like we believe in things, and there's that background, but yet there's also that part of us where we're quite open and connected and have that understanding as well, so
Yeah.
it's so interesting. I think ours is like a little bit blended. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, but
Yeah. It's almost like they connect together in some way. I think we needed to learn those things
yeah,
as
for
well,
sure.
and
Yeah.
then uh, when we did, open up to more spirituality, I think it just all like made sense to
Oh,
us.
for
You
sure.
know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
think that's why
did
you're
for me.
saying, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, just wanted to add that
Yeah.
little bit in there too.
Okay. So is there any more
Okay.
questions or?
Yes, so there's just two more questions. One was specifically for me, and one
Okay.
specifically for you.
Okay.
So Shelly, I'll go with yours first, and then I can
Oh,
go.
okay, sure.
So the question was for Shelly, and it said, with your husband's line of work, does he ever ask you for your help or guidance?
Oh, okay. Um, I would have to say no. um, because like I said earlier in this episode, my husband out is also intuitive. So
Yeah.
I mean, I would say probably a little bit in the beginning. He doesn't anymore because he knows the tools now.
Right.
He gets premonitions, and so like, and when I'm saying premonitions, I'm meaning like he will get a vision, or however, I don't know how to explain it to you, but like it's like a movie to him or like a dream, but he's
Mhm.
awake. He's not actually sleeping and dreaming. He is actually
Right.
awake, and he's having these premonitions, and um, they usually happen within a couple of days. And
Yeah.
so he has learned that he tries to put it out there where they are not necessarily negative because of the line of work that he does.
Hmm.
Because a lot of things would come in negative, and those
Yeah.
things would happen, unfortunately. So he just has learned down the road to, do protection, like what we talked about in another episode, and try not to bring those even to home or to work. Like, so he
Yeah.
just tries to keep his vibration quite high so that when he is encountering something that is negative, it's not going to affect him, and that he
Right.
gets these premonitions. And he hasn't had premonitions for a little while, which is nice because, like I said, they can be very
Heavy.
negative. Yeah, yeah, like a very heavy. Yeah, it's very heavy. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I would have to say that at this point in his life and what he does and things, no, he doesn't usually ask because he has the tools and he knows what to do and he does protection and things like
Hmm.
that. So he does know what to do now
Yeah.
for that. So yeah,
And
that
I would
would
have to
be
say on that is that some the tools that she's talking about her husband having is like he's, learned the tools.
mhm.
He's learned tools through Shelly, and
Yeah,
also he also took some
medium.
classes
Yeah,
as well, mediumship
hmm
classes and stuff like that with Shelly as well.
yeah,
So, it also then helped him, on his journey too. So I just wanted to mention that because we were talking about it today. So when you
right.
talk about, he's learned the tools. So
Yes.
yeah, that's kind
Yes.
of
Yeah.
been
I
part of
guess I should
his
explain.
journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So he has taken mediumship classes with me, and it totally changed how he even just received because he
Hmm.
didn't know what to do and like because we're all different, we all
Yeah.
receive messages differently and how we connect and everything like that. So when he took those mediumship classes with me, he learned as well how to do it for him and his journey,
Yeah.
like Bev said, so he has learned what works with him and what doesn't work
Yeah.
with him. So yeah, that would have to be
Totally.
what I mean by tools. So he just knows how what
Yeah.
works. So yeah.
I think he learned how to work with his gifts,
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
which is what it's all about.
Right.
Learning all about yourself and all the things that you have going on and how to handle it all and deal with it and understand it. And it
Yes.
makes it makes a huge difference.
It
It really
does.
does.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel that's how you kind of really connect with yourself. So
That's right.
it's
Yeah.
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 But yeah,
Okay. Yeah. All
just wanted to
right.
add that little bit in
Yes,
there.
of course. No, for sure. Thanks.
So the last question was for me,
Okay.
and it was, would you ever teach hypnotherapy in the future? So I am also a certified hypnotherapist for
Mm-hmm.
those of you that don't know that. And so I love this question, and it was in person. And I'm, at this stage of the game, I think in my business and my life, I don't think I'm going to be teaching hypnotherapy. I kind of just allow the guidance to come through, whatever I'm needing, whatever I'm supposed to do. I really am aware and just open to receiving the signs. And so it hasn't happened yet. Of course, I love mentoring and I love teaching. I teach Reiki and I teach these spiritual classes and stuff. So who knows? I could possibly teach hypnotherapy in the future. I would have to take the certification training for sure through the guild. But at this point, no. But if ever it does come up, I can definitely put that out there somewhere and let you all know. But no, not at this time. So thank you for your question.
Yeah.
So yes,
Okay.
so yeah, that those were some of the questions that we had received, that we had also answered. We had a lot more in person, and
Mm-hmm.
which is okay. I think Shelly and I love Q&A as well. We
Yes.
love to answer questions to help you, and because you know what, why I love questions, and I always encourage my students to ask questions when they're in classes because somebody else might be thinking that same thing or
Mm-hmm.
experiencing that or wondering this or that. And so the more questions that you do ask, more people can learn as well. And if it hasn't come up in their journey yet, they've heard it and it might,
Yeah.
and then they'll be like, oh, okay, I heard this and this is what it meant. Okay, that makes sense. So I really strongly, I think we both strongly encourage you to continue to ask us questions. We will definitely answer them on our episodes as well, or just have set ones for Q&A or whatever. So comment on our YouTube page, reach out to us on Instagram through Empath Sisters page as well. Just you can email us. There's different ways to contact us. So just let
Mm-hmm.
us know your questions if you'd like, and we will make sure that we answer them for you.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
um,
And like I always say, knowledge is power.
for
And
sure.
at the same time, we should be sharing. We should be
Mhm.
sharing with people
Yeah,
because they're not going to know. And again, knowledge is power. So if
for
we all
sure.
learn, and something like I said in the beginning of this episode, again, if
Yeah.
something doesn't resonate with you, then there's something that will. It just
Yes.
might not be for that. So just
Yeah,
remember that is why knowledge is power, because
for
sometimes
sure.
something might not resonate with you, but this does, or that, or, you know,
Hmm.
so this is why we should share. So,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
And it's all about divine timing too.
Mm-hmm.
So
That too.
some things will speak to you now and some things will speak to you later. It's like
Mm-hmm.
reading a book, right? It's like you'll
Yeah,
get the information you're meant to receive and hear at that time. You could put the book away and come back to it in a year and read it again, and you will get a completely different story out of it and how it speaks to you again.
that's right.
So, you know, just continue learning, just
Yeah,
continue to explore, move through this, find your people, find what resonates with you, that sort of thing. And the pieces that you pick up will speak to you at the time, and sometimes it'll speak to you for later. They'll
right.
even bring it on your journey ahead of time
Yeah,
so that you had it for that time down in the journey. So just, yeah, it's knowledge is power.
that's
I
right.
think education is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Educating in so many, in everything, I think
Yeah.
is so important. So please ask us questions. We'd love to answer them and share them, and so that everybody else can learn as well. So
And also, just because we are talking to you about things, we're learning too. We are
for
learning
sure.
as we go along as well. So
Hmm.
if there is something that we don't know, we will find it. We will try
Yeah,
and find it for you. So
for
just
sure.
remember that too. So if you do have a question and you do want an answer to it and we don't know, we will find it for you. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or it'll just get channeled through.
Yeah, exactly. That too.
So hopefully that will happen first if we don't know it. But
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Ask us
Yeah.
questions. We'd love to hear from you. So stay in touch. And
Yes.
so, yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in with the Empath Sisters today. We're sending you love, light, and gratitude wherever this may find you. And we look forward to chatting with you all on the next episode.
Yes. Have a great
Yes.
day.
Yes. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.